Charlie Kirk expertly debated why you can be pro-Israel and also pro-America. Check it out.
Hey Charlie, how's it going?
I appreciate it.
Um, I don't know I haven't watched much of your stuff. Um, but from what I heard, I do think I disagree with you on something. On the question of APAC, so I got two questions just to get your opinion because I don't know what you think. Do you think America's national interest and Israel's national interest is aligned?
Sometimes.
Q, just quickly, like
Well, I mean, look, sometimes it's in our best interest, I think, to push back against Iran. Sometimes it's in our best interest to do technology transfers and weapons testing. And times, Israel, I think, is more aggressive in the Middle East than I think America should be. So the answer is sometimes. It's a very complicated question.
I agree. And second question, do you think that well, first of all, do you admit that APAC has a big influence in Congress and the executive?
They do, but I would argue, though, that APAC is not nearly as powerful as people think. Because I would just ask you a question. And people, APAC, if you guys don't know, is the American Israeli Political Action Committee. Been around for 60 years, very powerful. But would you say that most lawmakers are influenced by APAC, or do you think that a lot of them are actually Christians who care about Israel?
I think they're influenced by APAC
Okay.
donors.
Yeah.
I don't think they. I think there too many of them are spineless to stick to any Christian values.
Okay, fair enough. I would say, though, that there are tens of millions of people in the Republican Party that are Christians that care a lot about Israel.
Absolutely, yes.
And I'm evangelical, so I know
Yes.
that world very well. So, yes, APAC has a lot of influence, but we also must have, I think, some nuance to understand that there is a large portion of the Republican Party that does believe and have a soft spot for Israel.
And that's the problem, is like you have like one politician that's bought by AIPAC, and then people think that everybody in the world is bought by this one organization. It's all the Jews controlling everything behind the scenes. It's like, no, there are other lobbying groups. There are tons of countries that have a lot of influence on American policy. And because it's the Jews and because it's the only Jewish or Israel lobbying group, they focus on AIPAC and they focus on the Jews, as opposed to being like, oh, China has influence, Russia has influence, all these other countries have a lot of influence on American policy, but that's never discussed. They just brush that under the rug.
Right, and in terms of aligned national interests, I think from what I see, I don't think we got people would argue that we have Israel's like a client state of the U.S. I'd argue that Benjamin Netanyahu has the U.S. on a leash, and the leash is AIPAC. I think that they've dragged us into so many things that have gone against our national interests in the Middle East. It's hurt so many U.S. relations with Arab states, such as Lebanon, the Second Lebanon War. Do you know?
What? This guy is on another one. The idea that he thinks that the U.S. is a client state of Israel. What are you talking about? Does Netanyahu call up? Does he call up Biden and say, Biden, you have to stop the Ukraine-Russian war? Does he call up Trump and say, Trump, I don't like what you're doing with the Arab states and meeting in Saudi Arabia with the MBS. I don't want you to do that, and I don't want you to meet with Qatar. You think he does? No. Just the opposite. What happens is Trump calls up Netanyahu and says, oh, I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that. And then Netanyahu usually just says, okay, fine, yeah, fine. And that is exactly how the relationship works. It's not the other way around at all. If anything, Israel is a client state of the U.S., which is a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing to admit, but it is basically the truth. Why do you think people ask, for example, the American State Department, so are you going to allow Israel to do this? Are you going to allow Israel to do that? Are you going to endorse Israel going into Rafah, all these other things? And then, it never happens the other way around. Does anybody ever ask Benjamin Netanyahu if he's going to allow Trump to do something? No. Trump does whatever America does whatever they want, and that's fine. That's a great thing. But the idea that Israel is holding America on a leash you have to be so absurdly out of touch with reality to believe that.
know much about that.
No, I really don't.
Yeah, like 2006. We had a friendly regime in Lebanon, and there was a conflict with Hezbollah. I think they took like they killed some Israelis on the border and kidnapped one or two, and Israel went to, or the president at the time or prime minister at the time, went to the U.S. to ask for the green light to go to war with Lebanon. And George Bush, despite knowing that there was a friendly regime that they spent like years building up, all that.
He just debunked his entire argument. So Israel went to the U.S. for a green light to start a war or start a conflict because two of their Israeli citizens were taken. He literally just laid it out. What are you talking about? You just said that Israel is holding the U.S. on a leash, and then 5 seconds later you're saying that the Israeli prime minister is going up to George Bush and begging him to allow them to fight a war. That is exactly in contrast to what you just said.
Good relations with Lebanon went out the window with this, and he still greenlit it, and I'd argue that's because of the Aipac pressure that he was receiving.
A lot of people feel the way you do, so I have a different opinion. I've gone through this many times, but I'm not going to defend everything that Israel does. We should always be resolutely America first, not a foreign country, but I don't believe in America only, and that's a big distinction.
Absolutely. And
last one, then we'll get to the next question.
Right. I haven't seen you talk about like this problem, because I think it is a big problem that I think
Again,
it's prolonging
I don't think it's as big of a problem as you do, because it's a problem the voters themselves, especially from a lot of these congressional districts, are far more pro-Israel than just a specific AIPAC lobby. I think there is an overestimation of how powerful AIPAC actually is. I don't agree with everything AIPAC does. I mean, they went after Thomas Massie. I love Thomas Massie, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't agree with everything. I'm in a unique position here because I happen to be obviously I'm first and foremost pro-American, but I'm very pro-Israel as well as an evangelical.
Right.
So I try to weigh both those things.
Yes.
While understanding the objections by a lot of people like yourself that ask the very understandable question, what is in our national interest about all of this?
Mm-hmm. So, but there's a direct conflict. You see that, right?
Not always. I mean, it depends on what decisions are being made and what circumstance there is.
I think the AIPAC influence has just prolonged the Palestinian conflict, in my opinion. I'm not saying it would solve.
Fair enough.
It's a very complex problem, but I think during the
it's also
Camp David summit, I think that was a sham. I don't think anyone thought there was going to get anything done during that. I think Clinton was just trying to get his Nobel Peace Prize.
Right, exactly. All right, I'm going to get to the next question. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to apologize for labeling this a great job by Charlie Kirk. I mean, he did an okay job, but it wasn't like he really pushed back at all. Well, he is usually great, so I assumed this was also great. I did not watch the video beforehand, but I think that I did a great job of explaining exactly why this student is an actual idiot. For more, subscribe to the channel. If you want to help us make more of these videos, you can support us at buymeacoffee.com/Jewish Uncensored. You can also go to our channel memberships page and join there as well. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.